The rain fell in a thin, steady drizzle over the empty streets of the old town. Under the dim, amber glow of the streetlights, the road looked frozen in time, like no one had touched it for decades. Deputy Mark Henderson pulled up the collar of his police jacket, trying to shield himself from the damp chill, but his eyes were locked on the crumbling house ahead. Its front door hung shut with a rusted padlock. The windows were clouded over with years of dust and rain stains. This was the last place Harry Logan had ever been seen 20 years ago. An ordinary man. A car mechanic. One night he walked out of his house, and never came back. No phone call. No note. No body. Only rumors, theories, and a broken trail of hope. The night it began. Harry's wife, Elaine Logan, had shown up at the station that night, pale and trembling. The dark circles under her eyes told Mark she hadn't slept in days, maybe weeks. "Mark," she said in a shaky voice, "he left around 7. Said he needed to pick up some parts for a customer's car, but he never came home." Mark was just a young officer then, full of energy and determination. He searched every street in town, even out past the forest line. But Harry seemed to have been swallowed by the earth. Days turned to weeks. Weeks to months. Months to years. At first, Elaine put up flyers in every shop window. She offered a reward. She even went on local TV, begging for answers. But nothing came back. The town began to whisper. Some said, he probably ran away. Couldn't he handle the debts? Others murmured, someone killed him and hid the body. You'll never find it? Mark never bought into the gossip. Deep down, the question gnawed at him, where did Harry Logan go? A clue after 20 years. 2 decades later, Mark was now the town's deputy, his hair grayer, his shoulders heavier. Then one day, a call came in. A storage unit, abandoned and recently sold at auction, had been brought in for inventory. Inside, broken furniture, torn clothes, and a rusted red toolbox. Mark popped the latch open. Inside was an old leather jacket, stiff with age. He checked the pockets and froze. A wallet. Inside, a faded driver's license photo. The face was barely visible now, but the name was clear enough to punch the air out of his lungs, Harry Logan. Mark stood there, his breath slow and heavy, rainwater still dripping from his jacket. It didn't make sense. Why would Harry Logan's wallet be locked away in an abandoned storage unit, and whose unit was it? A quick check through the auction records gave an unexpected name: Victor Rains. Mark's eyes narrowed. Rains had been Harry's old business partner, a man with a slick smile and a reputation for cutting corners. He left town about a year after Harry disappeared, claiming the shop wasn't the same without him. The hidden past. Mark drove out to the edge of town, where Victor had once lived. The house was gone now, just an empty lot. But an old neighbor remembered something. "Yeah," the man said, leaning on his cane, "I remember seeing them arguing in the driveway a few days before Harry vanished." Voices were raised. Harry looked furious. Never saw him again after that. That detail sat in Mark's mind like a sharp stone in his shoe. Digging deeper. Late that night, Mark pulled out the old police files. He reread every interview, every photo, every scrap of evidence. Something he'd missed 20 years ago now stood out: an invoice for a large cash withdrawal Harry had made the day he vanished. The amount $15,000. The money had never been found. And according to bank records, the last person seen with Harry that day was Victor Rains. The breakthrough. Mark tracked Victor down in a small Arizona border town, working at a dusty auto yard. His hair was thinner, his gut heavier, but his eyes still carried that same quick, guarded glint. "Harry Logan," Mark began without preamble. Victor's smile froze. Haven't he heard that name in years? Mark laid the wallet on the counter between them. The cracked leather, the faded ID. For a long time, Victor didn't move. Then he said quietly, "You found it? What happened to him, Victor?" The silence was thick enough to feel. Finally, Victor sighed. It wasn't supposed to go like that. The truth. That night, 20 years ago, Harry had discovered that Victor was skimming profits from their repair shop. Furious, Harry confronted him and threatened to go to the police. They argued, tempers boiled over. Victor claimed it was an accident. Harry slipped, hit his head on a metal jack. Panicking, Victor hid the body. He drove Harry out to the old quarry at the edge of town, buried him in a shallow grave under scrap metal. The $15,000 Harry had withdrawn it to buy out Victor's share of the shop, an offer that never got made. The final discovery. With Victor's confession, Mark got a warrant. The search at the quarry was grim. Beneath rusted car frames and earth hardened by decades of weather, they found Harry's remains, his watch still on his wrist, stopped at 9:47 p.m. Elaine Logan, now in her late 60s, came to the site. She stood silently as the forensic team worked, tears mixing with the rain. Mark stepped beside her. "I promised you I'd find him," he said softly. She didn't take her eyes off the ground. "You did. And now I can bury my husband, not just my hope." Epilogue. Victor Raines was sentenced to life in prison. He never asked for forgiveness, and Elaine never offered it. Harry Logan was laid to rest in the town cemetery, beside the oak tree he used to sit under on summer evenings. The entire town came to the funeral. For years, the mystery of the man who vanished without a trace had haunted them all. Now, at last, it had a name, a truth, and an ending. As Mark stood by the grave, rain dripping off the brim of his hat, he thought about how some wounds never fully close. But sometimes, knowing the truth is the only kind of closure you can get.